Dudes and dudettes, what's going on? This is the one and only your dude, Intergalactic Brew. Told y'all boys I was back, and girls. And yeah, man, it's time for some MMA this weekend. UFC 144, man. Japan, the land of the rising sun, baby. First time in Japan for the UFC since the 2000. Know what I mean? It's time to go back overseas and see what, you know, the beloved fans of Japan are talking about. You know what I mean? And maybe while the UFC is over there, they might enjoy some homemade shrimp fried rice and homemade sushi and homemade Mongolian beef and teriyaki chicken and all that other good stuff that I love from the Chinese. But anyway, or wait a minute, this is Japan. Oops, my fault. But yeah, man, enough of the shenanigans. It's going down Saturday night, 10 o'clock on the dot. You already know the usual. But this is going to be a precedent here on this particular card, because this is the first time in UFC history where the main card pay-per-view portion of this event has 7, not 1, not 2, 3, 4, 5, but 7 main fights. Awesome. Hopefully they can all live up to their description, or at least the Japanese fans hope so. But I mean, when you're fighting in Japan, I mean, if it stays technically sound, that's cool. The Japanese fans, they love technical, fundamentally sound fighting. Or if it turns into a brawl, they like that too. So maybe we might get a little bit of both. Who knows? But anyway, let's jump to it. First fight of the night, opening the pay-per-view, is Anthony Showtime Pettis versus Joe J-Lo Lozon. Both these guys have been on hot streaks ever since coming. Well, Joe Lozon's been in the UFC. I should say Anthony Pettis has been on a pretty good streak ever since transitioning from the WEC. Of course, he was the last WEC lightweight champion. So, he has had some good success, and he's got some momentum coming into this fight, coming off a very impressive victory over Jeremy Stevens last year. And of course, Joe Lozon pulling probably one of the better upsets of 2011 when he beat Melvin Gillard with a rear naked choke, heard around the world, followed by a sneaky right hook. So, yeah, man, both of these guys, I think if they win this fight, either one could have a chance of being the next guy to challenge either Frankie Edgar or Ben Henderson. That's just how I see it, So, yeah, but this fight's important. So both guys are going to want to come to look to end the fight in very impressive fashion for the UFC staff. Just to break down the fight a little bit, Joe Lozon definitely needs to come out fast and furious, turn the pressure on from the beginning, back Anthony Pettis up with his boxing. Maybe need to mix it up with that and some takedown attempts, if not a takedown, and needs to get top position and try to either look for Kimura or an armbar. Joe Lozon, we know, is good in the mount. We've seen what he's done on numerous occasions. So Anthony Pettis will definitely need to bring his black belt knowledge of jiu-jitsu with him, because if Joe Lozon puts him on his back, Anthony Pettis is going to definitely have to try to submit him from his back. Also, standing up, I think that if Joe Lozon can wear Anthony Pettis out by clinching with him up against the fence and, just beating him up with the dirty boxing and the knees, Maybe that might make the takedown attempts a little bit easier, but then again, that's going to kind of be a hard thing to do because Anthony Pettis is a fine conditioned fighter, as we've seen. You know, he's nonstop adrenaline all day, every day. I can't say too much for Joe Lozon. I mean, sure, he's a tough guy, and he'll hang in there as long as he possibly can, but he has been known to get tired and exhaust in fights pretty early, maybe around like second round or something along those lines. But I mean, who knows? But the bottom line is Joe Lozon needs to get this fight to the ground, whether it's by wobbling Anthony Pettis or, like I said, just taking the wrestler approach and try to wear him down and get that takedown. Anthony Pettis will definitely need to keep the fight standing because Joe Lozon is the better grappler here and will be the better grappler. He just needs to do what he's been doing, use the kicks, punches, and elbows combined and keep Joe Lozon guessing. It also wouldn't be bad to see, some of those Street Fighter Tekken tag tournament moves as well that he likes to use, with the flying roundhouse kick off the cage, or maybe a cartwheel kick from the capoeira style. So I mean, basically Anthony Pettis just needs to like I said, make Joe Lozon want to stand up and not take him down. And I think that's what's going to happen. I think Anthony Pettis' striking arsenal is a little bit too dangerous for Joe Lozon, and I think he's worked his wrestling well enough to be aware of Joe Lozon taking him down, and I think he can stuff Joe Lozon's takedowns. And I think Anthony Pettis is going to be moving. I think he's going to be cutting those angles, and I think he's going to be looking to counter whatever Joe Lozon tries to throw. And I think he's going to eventually catch him, maybe like with a flying knee, or maybe a right hook or something like that. But he will drop Lozon nevertheless, and I think he'll end the fight by TK. Well, no, I actually picked the decision on my MMA show. I actually picked the decision, so I'm sticking with that. I'm going with Anthony Pettis by decision. I just can just see him dropping Lozon numerous times, going for submission attempts. Joe Lozon being the good jiu-jitsu grappler that he is, I'm sure he'll be able to find a way to scramble and maybe sweep Pettis if he can. I don't know, but I can see Pettis winning the fight by a decision. So that's what I'm going with. But Joe Lozon always has a chance. Just Pettis just needs not to stand in front of him, and he needs to move around, use those angles to counter and get those kicks going, and I think he'll be in good shape. So there you go. Next fight, Hatsu Hayoki versus Bart Pelazewski. This fight is a no-brainer to me. I mean, I know that may surprise a lot of other people, but I seriously got a feeling that Hatsu Hayoki is going to win this fight, just for the simple fact that Bart Pelazewski, I mean, he's got a decent jiu-jitsu skill or skills, but I think it's kind of one-dimensional compared to Hayoki's. I mean, Hayoki is a established black belt in jiu-jitsu, and I think that's what's going to come into play here. I don't think Hayoki's going to be that stupid to stand up with Pelazewski, because I'm sure he's aware of Pelazewski's knockout power, both in his feet and in his hands, but mostly his hands. And I think he's going to just ground Pelazewski here, I think, from the start. He might want to, instead of just trying to go for a submission attempt from right off the bat, I think he might want to soften him up a little bit with a little bit of ground and pound and get a little aggressive and nasty with him. And I think if he can do that, I think that will definitely open up the submissions for him. Hayoki is much like Joe Lozon, very dominant in the mount, and I could definitely see him putting Palazewski on his back and you know, uh, controlling him and softening him up a little bit, and eventually getting like maybe an arm bar or maybe a Kimura or something from the half guard or from side control, if not an arm triangle choke. What Palazewski needs to do is he just needs to come out and he just needs to let his hands go, because Hayuki is not a very good striker, as we know. So I think if Palazewski comes out and just, like I said, just swing away, I think he could catch Hayuki, because Hayuki's not gonna really like move around. He's just gonna be like one of those stoic, you know, flat-footed guys that's just gonna stand there and you know, just try to pick his shots and look for openings. And I just think if Palazewski can be aggressive and like I said, come out throwing, I think he could catch him and he could knock him out possibly in the first round. And that still could happen. But I just feel like Hayuki, from the last fight, I think he's learned that he has to play to his strength and not try to, you know, kind of buy into fighting anybody else's fight. And I think that's what he's going to do. And he trains with a good team as well. Good team as well, excuse me, at TriStar. So I know they will have him very well prepared. So I'm going with Hayuki in this fight, and I'm going to pick him second round submission. Next fight, Yushin Okami, one of my all-time favorite middleweight fighters, going up against another one of my favorites, Tim the Barbarian Bosch. This fight for Okami, I think this is sort of like a, not going to say a must-win, but it's a confidence builder fight that I think he needs. I think Okami needs to come out and end this fight early. Just judging off his previous fight where he just got completely assaulted by Anderson Silva. I really think Okami needs to come out and either submit Boach or either knock him out, either one. But Okami really needs this fight as a confidence builder. And Tim Boach, I think what he needs to do, and I think he just needs to stick to what he knows. He will have the superior striking edge, I believe. I mean, Okami's striking has improved over the years, but I don't think it's on the level of Tim Boach, who comes from that Jeet Kune Do slash Muay Thai background. So Okami, you know, he really needs to come forward, and I think he needs to be aggressive. He really needs to be aggressive. That is the one thing that has really held Okami back and really prevented him from being a true star and an elite fighter in the middleweight division. Is, you know, he just has no aggression about him. You know, he's just not mean. He doesn't get mean enough. You know, he's a little bit too laid back, and you know, he's kind of like a wait and see what happens type of fighter. And I think that's going to cost him dearly if he chooses to, you know, keep up that style. But I mean, we'll see what happens. But personally, what I think is going to happen is I think that Tim Boach is going to take advantage of Okami's weaknesses, which is the lack of aggression and the lack of all-around striking, because Okami really doesn't throw any kicks. I mean, like I said, Okami's striking is good, his wrestling is good, and he's got good judo. But we don't ever really see it. You know, I mean, it's like I said, he's kind of like a laid-back type of guy, you know, kind of, you know, waits and see what the fight brings to him. I think he should just bring the fight to whoever his opponent is. But I just think that, you know, Tim Boach is going to be a no-nonsense guy, and he's going to come out from the start, and he's going to press Okami, and I think he's going to rock him a couple of times. He may not knock him out, but he's going to rock him. And I think he's going to be able to take Well, I don't know if he'll be able to take Okami down, but I know he'll definitely rock him, and that might cause Okami to fall. But when this fight does hit the ground, if it ever does, I think Tim Boetsch will have the advantage just because I think his jiu-jitsu is better than Okami's personally. So I would love to see Okami win the fight. I really would. I hope he comes out and surprises me and just completely just, you know, floors Tim Boetsch into oblivion in the first round or second. But I got to go with Tim Boetsch here. I'm going with the underdog. I think he's going to be able to submit him somewhere in this fight. I don't know how it's going to happen, but I think this fight is eventually going to hit the floor, and I think he's going to be able to get Okami's back and choke him out. So there you have it. I'm going with Tim Boetsch. But like I said, I hope Okami comes out aggressive and, you know, just completely just lets it all hang out. I mean, come on, he's in Japan. Why wouldn't he want a good TKO or submission in Japan? So surprise me, Yushin. Next fight, Yoshihiro Akiyama versus Jake Shields. This is a must win for Akiyama. I think he's 1-3. Let's see, Vitor Belfort, Chris Lieben, Michael Bisping. Yeah, I think he's 1-3 in his last few fights. So this is a real must win for Akiyama. I think he I think he needs to come out and you know, use the striking on Jake Shields. We know Jake Shields and striking does not bode well with him, because we've seen what effect it's had in the past. So I really think Akiyama needs to try his best to stuff Jake Shields' takedowns, use his superior judo, and keep the fight standing and try to knock Jake Shields out. I think, you know, Akiyama needs an impressive win here. He needs to make a statement here and really let the UFC know why he was one of the top fighters besides Yushin Okami to come out of Japan. So I think just for that reason alone, I can see him winning the fight. I mean, sure, you know, Jake Shields can easily, could probably take Akiyama down, and I think he might do it still. But I just think, you know, with Akiyama having everything on the line here, I think he's going to come out, and I think Akiyama's going to come out and surprise a lot of people. Because, like I said, with Jake Shields and, you know, stand-up fighting, I just don't feel comfortable with him there. Now, if he can take Akiyama down, which I think he can, then he'll win the fight. But other than that, for some reason, I just see Akiyama winning the fight. I could see him catching Jake Shields maybe in the clinch or something like that, and just basically wobbling him, and then just you know, jumping on top of him with punches and knees, and then eventually getting on top of him, finishing the job, and the referee stopping the fight. So I'm gonna go with Yoshihiro Akiyama by stoppage. Now, I probably might be wrong, and I probably am gonna be wrong on this fight, but I'm hoping that Akiyama proves me right. Same thing with Okami. I mean, that was a tough fight to pick between Okami and Boetsch. If it would have been another opponent besides Tim Boetsch to face Okami, I probably would have picked Yushin easily. But who knows? I probably might get that fight wrong too. You know, Yushin may come out and just completely destroy Tim Boetsch. So I mean, you know, whatever. But I mean, who knows? But going on though, real quick, Mark Hunt versus Czech Congo. This is real simple. I love Czech Congo, but I think this is a bad matchup for him. Just for the simple fact that he's facing a guy who, much like Pat Barry, has knockout power, and that can end the fight with one punch. But the difference between Mark Hunt and Pat Barry is if Mark Hunt has you hurt, he's going to jump on you and finish you. Unlike Pat Barry, who will jump on you if he knows he can finish you, but most of the time won't, if that makes any sense. But anyway, I'm going with Mark Hunt here. I just think he's has the better overall. Well, I'm not going to say the better overall striker. I'm just going to say the knockout power is going to play a big part in this fight. Czech Congo is an excellent striker in his own right. Probably, maybe one of the top 5 strikers in the UFC. But this I think this is just a bad matchup with him versus Mark Hunt, and I think Mark Hunt is going to be able to stuff Czech Congo's takedowns, which at least I hope he will, because I believe that Czech Congo is gonna take this fight to the ground at some point, or try to take it to the ground at some point. But I just feel that Mark Hunt can stuff the takedowns and keep the fight standing, and I think he can land a big shot and and clock Czech Congo. So I'm going with Mark Hunt by KO. But like I said, if Czech Congo decides to wrestle, Czech Congo will win the fight. All right, going down to the co-main event. Quinton Rampage Jackson, my dude, my favorite UFC fighter, one of the greatest UFC fighters of all time, going up against Ryan Darth Bader. Basically, a lot of people have been saying that this might be Quinton's last fight. Wouldn't surprise me. I mean, y'all heard what I said. At least y'all that actually watched it, y'all know what I said about this on my previous video that I made. So I mean, if Quinton does decide to call it quits after this, great. He's done everything he's wanted to do in MMA. I mean, he's been fighting for a long time, like I said. So I mean, if this is his last hurrah, then hoorah. I'm gonna still be barking and howling after he hangs him up, I mean, because he's Rampage, that's him, that's what he does. But anyway, before that happens, let's get to this fight. Basically, this is gonna be simple. Ryan Bader's not going to stand with Quinton. He'll probably try a couple of those wild, wingy, overhand rights and probably miss both of them, or probably graze Quinton. But then after that, and he realized that Quinton has one of the hardest chins in MMA, and when he feels Quinton coming towards him with those combinations and peppering them with him, he's going to try to look to take the fight to the ground and out wrestle Quinton and get a decision. I mean, we all know this. I mean, very few people stand up with Quinton Jackson. I mean, seriously. I mean, come on. But anyway, with that being said, Quinton is just, I think, going to be a little bit too strong, and his takedown defense is second to none. I mean, although he has been taken down before, but I mean, that was just by, bigger, longer guys, aka John Jones, and by Rashad Evans. I mean, okay, better wrestler. Okay, I should have said by bigger and better wrestlers, John Jones and Rashad Evans. So yeah, but I don't think Ryan Bader is going to be able to take Quinton down. I think it's going to have to be forced to stand with Quinton, and I think that's going to be pretty much all she wrote. I could see Quinton catching him with a right hook, or maybe a solid 1-2 combination right to the chops, and Ryan Bader falls flat on his face looking at the UFC logo. So basically, it's Quinton Jackson, KO. Simple as that. Hopefully I won't hear the retirement speech like the MMA analyst was pointing out. But I mean, if we do, so be it. It's not going to bother me. You know what? I'm going to make another video for the main event, because I have a lot I want to say. So you all stay tuned. I'm about to upload this, and right after I do that, I'm going to give you my prediction for the main event of the evening. Keep it there. You better.